The housing market has been going absolutely wild with misinformation. And if you guys want to know what the solution is, pay attention towards the end of this video, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I believe the solution really is. Now, the story of the housing market really is how investors, the Federal Reserve, and how the government has essentially robbed the average everyday consumer of the American dream of home ownership. And so what we're going to do today, guys, is once again go into the Redfin housing market report. And once again, if you guys find any value in this video, please hit like, and more than anything else, please give me a bonkers below. Now, once again, the name of this week's housing market report from Redfin is home prices hit another record high. Isn't that astonishing? Pushing pending sales down 4%? How can that be? Now, I just want to bring you guys' attention to the date that this was published, which was May 23rd of 2024. Because let's not forget, and I'm going to say this every single time they say new record, let's not forget they also had a new record back in June 23rd of 2022. However, as you see here, that new record was actually a much higher, sitting at $399,998. Now, all we'll do is read this first little section and their last quote from the realtor. First section is saying, prices keep rising because this spring's inventory is lower than usual. The sliver of good news for buyers is that mortgage rates have declined slightly. That's actually not good news. Rates are still in the 7%. And I will also tell you guys, prices aren't rising, at least in my metro area and a ton of other metro areas. Again, in my backyard, prices are falling. For sure, it's a fact, but we don't always see that in median because remember what's going on in the housing market. More of the higher end of the median is selling and less of the lower end of the median is selling, which is why if you're only following median, it's not a true depiction of what's going on with the values of houses. Remember, guys, subdivision analysis, you want to look at sold properties. Sold properties are called comps. Granted, not all properties have a subdivision, some are rural, and then in that situation, you look at homes that have sold that are close to the subject property. Back into the article. It's going to talk now about move-up buyers, and I want to tell you guys and explain, even the homeowners that purchased a house prior to quantitative tightening, so the homeowners that are in golden handcuff, remember, their purchasing power is shot as well. They lost 30 to 40% at least in purchasing power, just like the rest of America. This says, move-up buyers feel stuck because they're ready for their next house, but it just doesn't make financial sense to sell with current interest rates so high. The homeowners listing right now are often doing so because they need to, or rather, and they're acknowledging, forced selling. Most of the listings in existing, or at least many, depends on your metro, many are actually forced sellers, and all new builds are forced sellers, by the way. The homeowners listing right now are often doing so because they need to, and this goes on. One of my clients is selling because of a family emergency, and another couple is selling because they had a baby and simply they don't have the room. They don't have the room for their baby. According to them, I would argue they probably actually do. We don't know exactly. Buyers should take note that many of today's sellers are motivated. If a home doesn't have other offers on the table, offer under asking price or ask for concessions because many sellers are willing to negotiate. Do y'all remember back in 2022, 2021, 2020, we had bidding wars. We had literally no negotiation, and that was across the nation. Right now, it's completely divided. You really got to pay attention to what's going on in your market. But nevertheless, as far as a nationwide overall theme, that's completely changed. Now everyone's waiting for what? Prices to decline. Why? So that they can afford a house again. This week's leading indicators, starting with interest rates. Now we're sitting at a daily average, a weekly daily average of 7.09%. And I say weekly because this is a weekly housing market update. Now, as far as the overall weekly average of the weekly update, it's sitting at 7.02%. I would like to bring your attention to the year-over-year differences. Last year's housing market was actually looser. It was looser because it was more affordable, not necessarily because of prices. One, yes, because of prices, but two, because rates were actually much lower. Rates were sitting at 6.39%. Ultimately, that means that people had about 6% more purchasing power last year. So about 6% less purchasing power right now compared to last year from a mortgage, only a mortgage interest rate standpoint. Now, when we look at mortgage purchase applications, that's down 11% year over year. So the real estate industry continues to take a beating, with the demand also down 11% year over year. And we have Google searches for homes for sale down also, you guys, 18% year over year. Now, when we look at Mortgage News Daily, we see existing home sales again only to February at a seasonally adjusted 3.9 million, which would bring it under 4 million. Under 4 million is actually a really big deal. When we look at mortgage purchase applications, we had a slight, very ever so slight increase week over week. Historically, this thing is down in the ditches. It's pretty much worse than the GFC right now for mortgage purchase applications. And we got the usual suspects in the winners, and we got the usual suspects in the losers. Pretty much the losers always Texas. We will see this change as we get through spring and summer seasonality. Actually, we're probably going to see more as prices continue to deflate. However, top metro areas, starting with the number one metro area, Anaheim, California, which is so unaffordable, it's hard to believe anyone could move there at all as far as new homeowners. I think there's a lot of foreign money moving in there. I'm not 100%, but according to this data, Anaheim is up 20% year over year. Holy smokes. Number two, pretty crazy, Detroit. Detroit's number two, 16.9%, guys, year over year growth there. San Jose, so second California metro, sitting at a growth of year over year of 12.9. Another California metro sitting at number 4, with Oakland at growth of 12.9. Lastly, number 5, West Palm Beach with growth of a 12% year over year. Losers, my neighboring metro area, San Antonio, down 1%. Now, Houston's not on here, guys, but I could tell you in Houston, I can find many houses that are way more than 1%, double-digit decline from peak. Now, number 2 is Fort Worth, which is the only two big metro areas on this list, with Fort Worth down 0.6% year over year. Okay, guys, let's visualize some of this data. And remember, before I even get started on visualizing these charts, I get every week someone gets this wrong. This data is comparing year over year over year over year on a week-to-week basis. So we see movement on these charts week over week. A lot of people, I don't know why they get that wrong. And what we're measuring, the first thing, is a 4-week rolling average. Everything is labeled. Everything's in the description. You guys, seriously, check the comments. Someone's going to get lost again. But here's the data. Starting with median sales price. Now, overall, year over year, it's only up 4%. Now, I've gone on record numerous times. I think we will have a nominal decrease, which means an actual percentage. I'm not adjusting for inflation, of a minimum of 5%, depending on if we hit recession. If we hit recession, I'm thinking more like 7 to 15. But this year, I'm thinking 5. We got an election year. Nevertheless, 4% is measuring here to here. Now, the reason why that they continuously say we have a new record is because they have adjusted this red line you guys see there. I'm going to circle it. They've adjusted that red line downward. So because they've adjusted that downward, now this blue line that we're tracking is now exceeding the old records. Isn't it amazing what you could do with proprietary information right in front of people's faces, and half the people won't even get it? All right, now median asking price is up 6.6% year over year. Now, in my opinion, this data further reaffirms that what we see as far as prices going up is because the median, the higher end of the median, is selling, the lower end is not, except by investors. Investors love that low end, but you see that here. You see the median asking price soaring. Really, if we're to be honest, it's soaring well above normal seasonality, which means that is just increasing like a son of a gun. And so I would ask, how is that possible when everything else is worse? Supply is up, demand's down. Unaffordability is higher, interest rates are higher, therefore financing is tighter. There's no way that you can explain this to me absent the fact that it's because of the higher end housing is what's selling. The rich people are still spending. I believe we see that in median asking prices breaking normal seasonality. That's what I believe. Comment below. Let me know what you think. You may disagree with me. Either way, let's keep talking. Let's figure out what's going on. This one right here hurts. And this is my point. Like people can't afford this, you guys. Home buying housing payments right now. It's up 10.5%. Remember, year over year is here. Okay. That's up 10.5% year over year, with the average mortgage payment sitting at $2,854. And that's at an interest rate of 7.02%. That is outrageous. Normal people that are purchasing right now are taking the blunt of the inflation and all of the reckless spending. Let's be honest, because remember where we came from. So 1, 2, 3 years ago, our mortgage payments were about $1,700. That is how unpractical and toxic it is to purchase a house right now. And I always say this, you guys know I always say this, if you are purchasing right now, cushion yourself. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Cushion yourself, get wedge, get cash flow, get things like that. Now, if we're to get things back to the 30-year historical average of affordability, home prices have to go down 33%, or rates have to be 3.5%, or income goes up about 50%. And probably it's going to be a combination of those things. And if we really look at that, guys, the most probable thing that's going to happen is deflation in prices. That's the most probable thing. Some event is going to happen that is going to put downward pressure on prices. That's what I see there, because we know the income ain't there. We know the interest rates, they're not going to 3.5% without spiraling unemployment. Let me know what you think below. Now, this is more data showing that the housing market is not strong. The housing market is doing very, very bad, despite whatever you hear mainstream media. Those guys don't know what they're talking about. All aspects of the housing market, super toxic, except, again, high end of the housing market. The rich get richer in situations like this, but look at pending sales. Here's more proof. It's down 4% year over year. If the housing market was strong, pending sales would be flourishing. It's not. It's 1990 level lows. It's really, really bad. In fact, we're at a new 4-year low. Demand is low enough now to where we're finally getting supply. That's undisputable. What is disputable, though, and what you can say is that's not true when we go hyper local. We're talking macro data, okay? But regardless, big picture, these trends are true. This is a great set of data, but I do not like the level of growth, even though new listings of homes is only up 9% year over year. It's actually decent, 9% year over year, almost double digits. It's well under 2021 and well under 2022. This is telling us that some people cannot afford to sell. Okay, right now. But again, as more time goes on, more and more people will sell. Now, this is important to understand because demand's not keeping up. Okay, and eventually, all of that pressure on prices going down, something's going to happen. The probability is off the scales. That's why I'm just talking with such certainty. But again, I just go back, just be cautious. Whatever you do, be cautious. But nevertheless, new listings is up year over year. It's just not the growth that we prefer. At last, active listings has hit what I have been waiting for. Okay, remember, 900,000. Once we hit 900,000 back in 2022, we had accelerated price decline. Now, remember what I've been saying. Back in 2022, not only did we hit 900,000, we kept going up and we sustained for a good period of time. So as long as we hit 900,000 and sustain, even if we don't rocket up like we did in 2022, as long as we sustain at the level of inventory we have right now, that probability of prices going down is just going to continue to increase. So keep your eye on this set of data. Great news though, we finally hit 900,000. We're finally at where I wanted to be. More data, again, that demand is not keeping pace. This is good because what's next? Prices. And we have 3.2 months of supply right now. This is a 4-year high. Again, here's 1 year, 2 years, 3 year. This is a 4-year high for this period. Now, just remember, 2019, just in case you forgot, okay, we still had under 4 months of inventory. We had, before COVID, 3.9 months. That's it. So for any of these people that say, oh, inventory is not important, blah, 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 they don't know what they're talking about. Their argument was prices went up because of the lack of inventory. And I would agree. But remember, we didn't even have that much inventory to begin with. So we don't even need the same amount of inventory that we had coming into this whole mess to have price discovery, to have more fundamentals. Again, housing market's not like the stock market. Okay, it takes time, and there's a lot of government intervention. We have foreclosure moratoriums. We have a lot going on still, and we have such a divided housing market. And I'm not so naive to say there's not some markets. You guys will see in the comment section, some markets are still real bad. So don't beat those people up. I used to not understand. It took Jeff M to get me to really understand this, but some of those people really are in a really horrible situation. And some places, guys, you may hate to hear this, they have bidding wars. In my market, no. In my market, we're bullying buyers. But legit, some places, they still have bidding wars. That's insane, but it's true. Now, here's a very important piece of data. The price cuts lead everything. All the price activity, those price cuts lead that. Now, remember, you guys, in 2022, when we had the accelerated deflation in the housing market, the price cuts got over 6%, okay? So once we got there, again, prices started going down. So not only do we have 900,000 in active units, we also have price cuts at 6.4%. What I want you guys to understand is the difference between right now and 2022 is about 2 months. We are 2 months ahead of schedule as far as accelerated price cuts, which is why I believe we will have a nominal decline in prices this year of 5%. Again, if we had the recession, if we didn't have the deficit spending, it would be more. And I would argue, yes, we were already in recession, counting all of those things, but I'm talking about like it's so bad, even them manipulating the data, they still can't hide it. There's still so much unemployment that they still can't hide it. Right now, they're hiding it. I would agree. Deficit spending, I agree. But it's people still getting jobs out there, guys. Lastly, you guys see Redfin home buying demand down 11% year over year. That's a measure from here to here. Again, we have another 4-year low. You guys, be very, very careful who you listen to. And that brings me to the solution. And the solution is perspective. You must have the proper perspective. If you're in my market, then I can help. Then what I'm saying makes a lot of sense. If you're in other markets, maybe what I'm saying doesn't make a lot of sense. Your perspective is so very vital. Every market, even in Houston, has a different market within it. That is called a subdivision. You guys want the real story in the housing market. If you really want to understand trends and values, you got to get so hyper local that you know what's going on in a subdivision. So remember that. And not only that, perspective is so important. Let's end with this perspective. There's an absolute dumpster fire in new homes, and ask yourself, why is that? Why is there an overall dumpster fire with new homes? Now, here's an offer from Lennar offering a 4.5% FHA fixed rate with a 50% less earnest money deposit and a $40,000 price reduction on their houses. And when I click here, this is the Houston area. Come here yourself. It's your area. Look at the price cuts above my head. I mean, some of these price cuts are absolutely insane. $60,000, $70,000 price cut. There's a good one I just passed right there. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. Look at new home sales. I mean, again, you guys, I go back. The solution is your perspective and your comprehension. And I've tried to help empower you. I have a free home buying class. Check it out. It's free. It teaches you about credit, income, assets, various types of loans. What is wedge? What is cash flow? How does that work? It's free. And also don't forget, if you want to support me, if you have any commercial loans, if you're in distress, I have a link in the description. Fill out the form, send it to me, and I will call you personally. Now, other than that, let me know if you guys found value in the video. I hope you did. Tell me what it was. Share your insights. Share with us what's going on from a boots on the ground perspective. And if you guys are out there investing in real estate, you guys already know, I wish you luck and I hope you win.